This is full stack practice. This is where we're basically putting together a full stack application on our own by doing a lot of copy paste, but that's a traditional thing to do in software development is you go find something that you did once before that was like what you want, and you either have it up there while you're typing or you just copy paste modify. So that's what we're doing in this one. I'm not going to actually go through all of the mechanics of how to do all that. I'm not going to solve this one completely from scratch, but I will go through parts of it and show you. So we're basically taking the React catalog that we built that had all of the data stored in the browser code, and we're changing it to now instead put the code in our database. So this makes now our React catalog full stack. And not only is it full stack, but it is the basics of an ecom project. So a lot of students choose to do for their full stack project. Yeah, they like to do a full an ecom project, and if you need it, this gives you a starting point. So that's one of the reasons for doing it. So you can have a starting point if you need it. I would suggest that you try without just copying from here, if that's what you're doing, and then come back here and reference it if you need to. But this will, give you the basics of what you need. Of course, it's a pretty minimalistic ecom project. It doesn't store any user data at all. You usually in a real ecom project want to store user data either in a shopping cart or favorites or things like that. Yeah. So, and then you can just add that on. So that's what the purpose of this project is. Wanted to get you more comfortable with how the full stack infrastructure works. Think a little bit about how your front end and back end communicate, and kind of go through all the mechanics on your own to get it to work. And you guys did it. I was impressed. So let's any questions before I just go walk through it? Nope. Okay, then let's see. Here's what we'll do. I will open my VS Code. I have the solution already here that I'm going to walk through, but a lot of it I'm going to demonstrate and do with you. Oh, yeah. So one thing I haven't done yet is I haven't done the database setup. So here's, let me just go through this so we can see it. I did start PG Web down at the bottom, so I can look. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you come and start your project is you're going to run install. I just like to do I as a shortcut to install. And here it does all the stuff. Yes.
I noticed something yesterday. So the router error is going to get DOM router error. So and you're going to get icon error to the
React icons.
So this we need to install them inside the client.
You install it inside the client
Yeah,
folder.
that I know.
Yes, definitely. If you do Tailwind or something, a lot of students make mistakes with when they're doing their final project, is they want to use Tailwind and they'll go through all the installation instructions and they'll do it at the root, which puts all the dependencies down here, and then their code doesn't work correctly, especially after they deploy it and they get confused. You just have to remember this package JSON in here does not have any dependencies in it. All it has is scripts. All it has is scripts, and it should remain that way. That's on purpose. You don't put any of your dependencies in here at the root, except for possibly ones that you will need for like your lint configuration and things like that. Stuff that's development only, but you have very rarely will you have dependencies in your root package JSON. Instead, you have to CD into, for example, if you're doing React Router and React Icons, you'll CD into the client and you'll install them there. So you'll see if we look at this package JSON, this is where the dependencies are. So here we have React, React DOM, and then React Router DOM. This one doesn't have React icons, but if you do, that's where you'll put them is in here.
I think that's what was the most confusing. Was
Okay.
yeah, installing them.
Yep. If you just copy pasted, you didn't run into that problem, and so you didn't learn. So the way you learn is by running into problems and solving them. But there you go. And then in the server, you'll see the server's package JSON. So here you can see this one I'm looking at is in the client right there. And then in the server package JSON, you can see it's in the, whoops, that's the root. Here's the server one right there. You see server package JSON. Then here my dependencies are .env, so I can do my .environment file, express PG, and then the types. Okay. So you'll always make sure if you're installing server dependencies, you CD into the server folder and do your install. And then for client dependencies, you CD in there and do that. But then once you've installed those packages, you need to CD back out to your root and run npm install from there. Okay. So normally what you do is you do all of your scripts, you run all your scripts and things from the root, not from the server client packet, the folders.
Is it necessary to do this in certain steps, like first at the root and then at the client server, or?
The full stack infrastructure that we have put together requires that the very first thing you do is from the root run npm install. So that's always going to be the very first thing you do with our infrastructure. So it depends on how your infrastructure is set up. But with our infrastructure, you'll always go to the root and run npm install. That's the very, very first thing you do. And then you can start going from there. Okay. All right. So I just did that here. Now that I've got this done, let's just look at it very quickly. You'll see that it does npm install of the client, npm install of the server, and then it copies the .env.example into .env. Okay. So we've got that done. Now the next thing I want to do is create my database. What database name do I give it? Well, the way I tell is you can pick whatever you want, but you just have to make sure that the database name that you create matches the one that's in here. So if I use full stack practice, that's fine. But I could change this to Roberts DB or whatever I want, as long as it's a legal name. It doesn't have any spaces or funny characters in it. Then I can do it here, and I change it here, and then I change it when I do run my create DB call. Yeah.
Why is it that when we had created another full stack practice, like the database, we did not see all the other folders in our PG web?
All the other databases?
Yeah.
They should be there.
You saw all of them?
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll do create DB full stack practice. So that just created the database. Let's go look here. You know what?
You can list
Drop DB full stack practice. I will go back here and show you PG web. There is a little refresh button here you might need to click. So that refreshes the list of databases. And you'll see there's no full stack practice, but all the other ones I've created and worked with are in here.
Oh, okay. On the corner. Okay, I'll check.
And so now I go and I do my create DB again.
So drop delete the database?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Drop DB is deletes it. You shouldn't need to do that. But if you do, it's fine. Now if I click here, you see I see full stack practice. So I flip to full stack practice. There's nothing there. So I need to create my database. I need to populate my database. So to do that from the root, I do npm run db :import. So you see it created the schema and the tables and inserted some rows in it. So now if I come back here and refresh.
And
then you see I've got the products.
Yes, I was just wondering, Robert, where is this DB import written in? It's coming in the server, right? From the server.
No, it's
Package
in
JSON.
the root. It's in the root package JSON.
Oh, it's in the root package JSON. Okay.
Yes, all the scripts that you run are in the root package JSON.
Root
right
package
here.
JSON.
All the scripts that you need are in here.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So there's DB import right there.
Oh, yeah,
You see that it runs the script that's in the database folder.
and it runs the
Okay.
client and server together.
Yep, exactly. Okay, good. So now I've got that. There's my end file. Now I can run it. Now this is completely done already, so I can run it and just show you that it works. But usually, even before you're done, one of the first things you do is you run your servers. So you see it's running. I've got my dev server, I've got my client and server logs in here. It's listening on port 8080 on the server, and the client's listening here on port 5173. Okay. All right, so let's go look at it. You can, there's all these different ways. Sometimes if you hit open here, it'll open it. There it did. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't know why. But there it is. It's running. If I bring up the network tab here, I do a refresh.
That was fun checking all the network statuses.
You'll see that there's a call down here to products. So that one is the call to my Saatchi API / products. And you see the response was was everything out of the database. So it's working.
That's so cool.
Well,
It
why?
just look like that.
The long description mine is kind of set up in a weird way. I can say it like to the left.
I don't know. Must be wrapping or something. I don't. All right. So now if I click, then you see there's another query that was made here for just the this product ID 1. And here's the response it got back was this product ID 1 with all these things. Okay. All right. So it's working. So let's go through the code a little bit and figure out why it works. So I like to always start from the bottom. What's at the bottom of our stack?
So
database.
The database. So I already showed you the database in PG Web. Okay, so here's the database. I got my products tables. I have my products in it. So good. Everything's good there. Now let's look at the server. You see the server is just our standard boilerplate for doing an Express app. And then I start doing my endpoints. So I've got 2 endpoints, one to retrieve all the products and one to retrieve a specific product. Get all the products, it's easy, just like start from products and return the result, the rows. A single product's not much harder. I grab the product ID from the params, and then I kind of did this in one step so that I can I don't know, instead of doing the destructuring, I just grabbed it like this and turned it into a number. So product ID is a number. I make sure it's an integer. And then I run this with my params as the product ID that matches $1. And I check to make sure I got a row back. And if not, I do a 404. And then I return the response. Okay. So that's all something
Yeah,
we've
the
done
top
several
of line
times.
32, you did it like what I did it. You can do like a request param and do the structure.
Yeah. Yeah, you can either destructure or you can do this. I did it this way just for fun so that I could have product ID be a number
see
instead
it.
of a string.
And just another question.
Just
do,
for fun.
do we need to create an object, like a product object? I don't think.
I
it
was
says
really
it.
confused about the types. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't actually need the product type. Again, this code's so simple. You're not actually looking, you never look inside of the product object. So it's not really required. It's good to have, just not required. So I didn't bother here. If I were to make this code more sophisticated and do a little bit more processing work in it, I'd add the type and I'd put those types in my query so that I have the type safety.
Is it because if we need to add functions, so we can add the object anywhere?
Yeah, if I'm ever trying to access a single field, I'll definitely put it in so that I make sure that I'm typing my field name correct and I get the type checking. So it depends on my code.
Poor Gerardo, I was asking him such complicated questions. Then he didn't even respond. I was like, oh, good. It's just.
Okay. All right, now that I've looked at the server, let me go look at the client. The client, again, as we did before, is just essentially a copy paste of the React catalog exercise. So I basically just copied it, pasted it in here, and renamed it from client to app, or sorry, from my app to client. And then you need to go into Vite config, add your proxying so that you make sure that Vite is sending your requests to your API request to 8080. If you forget this, then you'll get weird responses back from your queries.
I noticed
I can show you that. You notice what?
Another error happened to me yesterday with the, okay, it says connection error because the server file, server.ts, I named it with different name to the one
Oh,
I saw.
yes.
So it causes connection error. I was like,
Really?
what is happening?
Yeah, the reason is because the script we gave you, you look
Server
here,
name,
package.json at the root.
Do I
When
miss-
you run, it assumes, so it runs npm run dev from the server package, so it ends up running this one. And it's runs dev,
It has to run
and
back.
it was running server.ts. So if you rename it, then you need to go in and change this script so it matches your file name. Okay. So anyway, let me just quickly go show you what happens if you, so I'll go and I'll do a refresh and you get this weird thing. Error loading product one, unexpected token, blah, 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 is not valid JSON. So what? What
Yeah.
happened?
I
So
was
that's what
getting
you'll get if you
that.
forget to put your proxy in.
Oh.
And let me refresh so we can see it. Here it is.
The errors were very helpful.
Right here. And so this is the response that got sent back. So you'll see it sent back an HTML page. Whoa, why did it send me back an HTML page? And if you look at it carefully, you'll discover that what it sent back was index.html. And so what you say is, wait, why did I get index.html? That's in my client. That's not in my server. So why is my server returning this? And then you think, wait a minute, it's not the server that's returning this, it's the client, it's Vite that's returning this. So this is what Vite returns if it can't figure out what else to send you back. And so that will tell you, oh, oops, I made this mistake. And I forgot to put my proxy in.
I have a question, Robert.
Oops.
So I was wondering, Robert, that when we run Vite, then we create a my app and then we just rename it to client. So then that can communicate with the type. It's like a different type of folder.
So it has to be named client just because the only reason it has to be named client is because the script expected client.
Yeah,
So I have all this stuff that says client in here.
that's there.
So I have assumed when I put together the infrastructure for your full stack project that the client, it would be in a folder named client. So you can name it anything you want, but then you're going to have to find all the places in the scripts that references it and change them all.
And this
Okay.
infrastructure that you have created for us is it important that we learn how to create our own infrastructure?
Actually, once you're in post program, there is a guide that shows you how to do that. So for example, if I go to LMS, go to the guides, go to post program, then you'll see that there's a guide for setting up your whole development environment. So when you're doing development, after you leave here, you don't want to use Docker. It uses tons and tons of memory. It's slow and it's not something that developers frequently do. And so what we do is we tell you how to build your full stack, your own development environment that runs on your computer itself. And we don't do this in class because it's different for Mac and Windows. And then we have all kinds of hassles trying to make sure that everybody's got the same stuff. And we have to write instructions that are, if you're on Windows, do this, if you're on Mac, do that. And it's just a pain. So we run Docker so that everybody is running a Linux workspace. But when you're done with this class and you want to do your own projects, you're going to want to build your own development environment that is not Docker based and that you just can write your code on. So there's that instructions there. And then the next one is full stack infrastructure, which tells you how to create in your own development environment a full stack project and full stack infrastructure. It'll be very similar to what we have here. So this, for example, here's the scripts. So it's similar to what we have, but it will be one that you own and you can do whatever with whatever you want. This is an infrastructure that we put together. It's pretty common, but it's by no means the way most companies do it. Again, this is all designed for a single individual during their development. If you're in a company where you have 6 or 8 developers, your infrastructure will almost certainly be very different.
So this is only like if we want to like build like
Build your own-
e-commerce sites for people or something, then we
Yes,
can
or
just
if you want to do a project on your own.
a
for fun.
project on our
Yep.
own.
Okay. Anyway, that you'll learn all that once you graduated. Okay. All right. So now let me get back to what I'm doing. I've wanted to go through now the client. I showed you the Vite config has the proxy on it. And otherwise, this is just everything that Vite produces. And let's look at the source. Well, notice the images are here in the public folder for the products. Sometimes you'll put those in the server and serve them with Express static, but right now they're there. And then, the components, there's the header and so on. You'll notice that in this solution, all of these pages are identical. I did not make any code changes at all in any of the components. No changes here, here, here. So how does it make calls to the database?
Okay, catalog, I changed catalog.
You both changed these to do a fetch.
Yeah, you can.
Instead, I did and I changed read product to do a fetch. And I strongly suggest that you do that approach. So now all of your networking call is happening inside of
What?
read.ts. You can call it read.ts, network.ts, api.ts, data.ts, whatever you like. But I strongly suggest that you put all your fetch calls in a single file. And then if you change your mind about how the API goes or how it's implemented, all you have to do is change that file. You don't have to go in and change your React code.
Oh.
So when I did this, I copied in the React code. The only change I made was here in read.ts. Everything else is untouched. Okay. So here now read catalog. See, it does the fetch. Read catalog does an await fetch. I made it async. I think it was already async. It does an await fetch to API products. And then it checks response okay because that's required. And throws an error if you don't get it. And then I just return the response JSON as a product array. Okay. You notice when you do it this way, there's no try catch. I've told you, you always have to put a try catch around your awaits. But the rule is that somewhere in the call chain, there has to be a try catch. It doesn't have to be at the bottom one. So if you put a try catch here, then you'll sit there and say, okay, if there's an error, how do I tell the user what the error was? I don't know because the component knows. So you just let the exception bubble up. And then the exception will be caught here in this try catch. So there's a try catch here. So this try catch will then set the error and display it to the user. So in my read TS, I don't need to worry about try catch. All I need to do is just do 3 lines of code in each one. That was it. You change 6 lines of code, and suddenly now instead of reading from your data TS, it's reading from the back end. Okay, here we're fetching the products with the product ID and returning the response as a product. Okay. All right. Pretty slick.
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
All right. Well, that's I just out of habit, whenever I do code that deals with data, I always put all my code that deals with data in one place because I know that it will make my life easier as I change things. So when I wrote the solution for the original read catalog and it got all the data out of the data.ts file, I made sure that I had this read TS file here that had, this instead of the old one was instead of doing fetch calls, it was getting it from the data TS file. Or maybe local storage or whatever. So it's all in this one place. So now if I change my mind, if I decide I want to put something in local storage, I just change it here. If I want to put it in the database, I just change it here, all in one place. And this is all I have to do and have to change. This is very important technique that we use in software development, which is to just encapsulate all of your data processing code in one place so that you can change your mind and then it's all there, get ready to go. Okay.
Yeah, we did not like, we're supposed to use functions, so we not like, so we don't like repeat ourselves, right?
Yep, you'll see here, product details, it calls read product. So now if I change my mind how I want read product to work, I don't have to go find all the places that I'm reading the products in my React code all over the place. I just go to one place. I just go to where this is implemented and I change it there. Okay.
And what was there, but you're still, oh, here you are just awaiting, okay.
Yeah, I'll show you what it used to look like. React catalog, solution, my app, source, component, no, it's pages, product details. See, the product details used to be exactly the same. I didn't change it. Okay, and now if I look, whoops, I lost my place. If I go and look at the read TS and lib, see, it used to just grab the products out of data TS.
Yeah, that's what I
So
still
all
have.
I had to do is change this code to just do a fetch instead. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So that's it. That's all I wanted to say on this. I want this Q&A to go pretty quick so we can have plenty of time to do the other exercises today because it's kind of a busy day today. All right, we all right? Any questions on this exercise? Okay, good. You asked good questions already, so I can go on. So we're going to do the next one is we're going to talk about context. So let me, while I'm here and thinking about it, let me kill my servers so I don't run into trouble in the future. Kill the servers. Okay. Now I go back to React context here. That's the next one. We're doing context and user management today. Those are the things. User management's a long one. So we need to make sure we get this context one done fairly soon. So here's context. Here's our instructions on context. Context is a way of managing global data in React. Okay, so sometimes there's data you want to share with every single component in your application. One of those might be the user's login information. So all kinds of components may need to know your user's login information. Another one would be your shopping cart. So if you have a shopping cart, you're going to have a little icon. You're going to have a shopping cart icon with a little badge on it with the number of things that they've got. You're going to have on your product detail page, you're going to have add to cart or remove from cart. On your product catalog page, you're going to have things that manipulate your shopping cart. So if you had to go and read the database every single time you wanted to put those little things up there, you'd get lots of icky database network traffic that would slow down your application. Or you'd have to have, we call it prop drilling. You'd have to pass your shopping cart into each one of your components, which would pass it to its subcomponents and down and down and down the tree. It's a real pain. So context makes it possible to share this type of global data among all of your components. So that's its that's its purpose in life. You don't do this very often. So this last question, when do you use context? In addition to the best answer, rarely. So you really use context not very often. Most applications will have one or maybe two contexts in them. But other than that, you don't usually do context too often. Okay. So this is a concept that is important to understand how to use it. It's not important that you have a thorough, deep understanding of how it works and all of that, all those things. So I suggest that you don't spend more than a few minutes reading the overview, because researching all of the React documentation and understanding how everything works and so on is just not worth the time. So here it says passing data deeply with context. Go through here, but don't bother into reading everything here thoroughly and getting it all the way to the end of the reading. You don't need it. You really just need this introduction up here. So to tell you about it. And then likewise with the use context hook, this one's more important because you need to know how to use the use context hook, but it's also shorter. So you just need to go through those. So please do not spend more than 15 to 30 minutes reading on this exercise. If you're spending more time than that, you're wasting your time and you're learning things that really aren't important for you to know. So do that and get into the exercise pretty quickly and finish up the exercise. It's not very hard. There are steps that you have to do and all the things that you have to do. So it is involved. It's not like you're 2 steps and you're finished. There are several steps, but they're pretty well spelled out, and they're small changes that you're making in a number of different places. And then you're going to go in and clean up the code, and this clean up the code is optional. Don't feel like you have to do that. If you're running out of time, don't worry about it. So anyway, it's 9:30 now. I want to do this Q&A before lunch, so I'll do it at 11:30 at the latest. So let's see how well it goes. The way this is going to work is the code that you start with is, surprise, surprise, it's React catalog. Here's your pages, catalog, product details,
So
right?
to create the database and everything again.
No, this one isn't full stack. This is
Not
just
full
this is
stack.
just the front end part. Okay. So, but that's because context is 100% a front end thing. So it's just all front end. Okay. But you start with the React catalog. I think the user management one we start with the full stack.
The user management.
Then we'll do that this afternoon. We'll do that this afternoon. And I think we're gonna do we're gonna add no, we do the to-dos app. Okay. Anyway, so that's context. What you will do in this when you solve it is it has the React catalog cart. Oh, I should have left that up. So, but what it does is it actually has a little shopping cart on it right here.
Is that what they did? My content.
Yeah, it has a little shopping cart right here. And when you click the add to cart button, it actually adds it to the shopping cart.
wow.
And then this has a badge on it with a number of items in the cart, the shopping cart does. And so as you add an item to it, this will update. So that's what you're doing.
That's what I tried to do with my previous project, and it did not work for me.
Yeah, well, this will show you a way to do it in React.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right, that's it. Any questions?
So we're just pretty much adding shopping cart, and we're gonna.
Yeah. A lot of the code's already written. You're just going to make it use context and make it work properly. Okay. All right.